My name is Lily.
I'm Sam Blankensee.
I'm Matt Kennedy. My pronouns are he, him.
My pronouns are they or he.
My pronouns are she.
I'm from UCD.
I go to GMIT.
I am an art student in UCC.
Trans people don't want to do this. It's not a choice. It's an absolute, unbreakable requirement because it's just who we are. We are transgender. I wouldn't say it was the best experience, but it was much better than it could have been had I come out in secondary school or after college. So I think college was the best place for me to come out as trans. Yeah, like people don't know what to think of me in general. They would a lot of people assume I'm male because I have a deep voice, or some days I have facial hair or whatever. Like, there was no kind of support system for transgender individuals in my college. We don't have any kind of trans awareness week. We've very little events surrounding trans education or trans allyship. Our students' union is a good students' union. It helps with anybody whatever they need, but I don't know. There's no specific things for a trans person to be able to get help with or whatever in college.
I know that when I was first coming out, I would have really benefited from a gender neutral bathroom. So I used to not go to the bathroom at all for the entire day. And I had kidney infections when I was younger. So the fact that I was completely avoiding going to the bathroom was really not good and was kind of detrimental to my health. Being able to access a gender neutral bathroom where there wouldn't be an issue as to my gender and I couldn't be kicked out of anywhere was really important and wasn't there. I've not had any bad experiences in university at all, for the most part. Like, I mean, there are times when I'm like, oh, I would love there to be gender neutral bathrooms, or like I'd fight for the rights of trans people. But the reason I'm so open is because I'm in a position where I can be, because I find it safe around my friends. And educating people means that I'm getting less and less kind of awkward reactions and less awkward questions. I am on the board of TENI. TENI is Transgender Equality Network Ireland, and it's an organisation that provides support, advocacy in education for trans people in Ireland. And actually we're getting onto a more global scale. So things like lobbying the government for better legislation, but also like supporting and founding support groups around the country for trans people, and educating people in schools and colleges and in workplaces about trans issues, and trying to make it a more wide spread kind of topic that people can talk about, and talk about with kind of experience and with knowledge.
We're emerging as a force to be reckoned with. We are becoming more visible, more outspoken, and stronger. We are joining with our friends and allies, many of whom are here tonight, to ensure that trans lives are not just respected, but actually honoured as well.
I spent a lot of time thinking about the quote, "Hope is never silent." the new ethos of our society, and a phrase that stays with me personally when our community falls victim to oppression, violence and hatred. But sometimes hope is silent, a kind of silence that stays with you. The kind that echoes through teenagers forced into the wrong school uniform, the kind that erases someone's voice, the kind that leaves people isolated and harmed. There's a progression in our country for our community, but so many people in the trans community are still unheard, are still discriminated against, are still punished for being the truest form of themselves that they can be. We need to end this disparity in our community and show solidarity with those who have lost their lives and protect those who are still here with us. We need to call out those who think trans people are jokes, are unnatural, are fake, and are not worthy of the same rights. This vigil is for every trans woman shouted at from a speeding car, beaten for her bravery, for being herself, punished for individuality. For every non-binary person told that they are confused, attention-seeking, or fake. For every intersex individual whose body has been chosen without their control. For every trans man dragged from the men's bathroom told that he is too soft, too short, and not strong enough. Trans lives matter. Every voice needs to resonate. Our hope cannot be silent. There are names on gravestones that do not reflect those who have passed away. For every whisper, there needs to be a chance to roar, a chance to change hope from silence to screams. Trans lives need to matter. We have lost too many people at the hands of ignorance, aggression and cruelty. I'm Matt Kennedy, my pronouns are he, him. I am an art student in UCC. I identify as a trans male, and I'm also the auditor of UCC LGBT, and I'm the LGBT rights officer on the UCC Students' Union. Trans Day Remembrance, it remembers all of the trans people who took their own lives or had their lives taken directly as a result of being trans. And I'm not sure of exact figures, but it's still very high, the amount of violence that trans people experience, and the amount of mental health issues that then lead to suicide and things among the trans community. So I think it's very important though it's very sad, it's a very sad thing to have to do, to acknowledge the fact that this much violence is still affecting the LGBT community. But I think it's important for colleges to recognise that LGBT rights aren't over. I came out in college kind of in small groups. I started with very close friends, and then those friends ended up telling people that I would have considered acquaintances, and then it just became that it was never really an issue. I don't think I've had any negative experiences with friends. It's always been people who don't even really know me that took it a bit weirdly. Like you feel, inadequate to your fellow cisgender students who you are paying the same amount as them, you're working as hard as in your course, and yet there have been instances where lecturers won't respect name and pronouns. I was outed in front of my history tutorial class, just small things like that if lecturers maybe got adequate training, particularly around the idea of like student health and things, if they got accurate training on how to deal with trans students, because this period of time is becoming more common for trans students. I was involved in writing a gender identity and gender expression policy this year that the university, it was something that they wanted to get involved in. We hit a lot of hiccups in terms of the university being a bit reluctant to help what they considered to be a very minute number of students, despite the fact that it was causing day-to-day hassle.
One of the major things it does is it calls for comprehensive training for all staff, all tutors, all researchers. It calls for comprehensive training for students as well, primarily delivered through orientation at the start of the year. I'd say it's very low. I'd say the awareness around trans is very low. I think there's a lot of work left to do in UCC. I think there's a lot of work to do across all campuses in this country in improving the awareness around trans, and I suppose the respect, because the respect is the key thing that when it comes to trans individuals' identities, especially their trans status. People have actively outed people's trans statuses without realising, and we need to create an awareness campaign in this university and across all higher educational institutions to encourage further protection of trans individuals when it comes to their, identity.
I think the most important thing we can do is educate. And I will kind of say that in the next few years, if we can get everyone educated, trans people's lives will be a lot easier.
It comes back to kind of the idea of people's issue with stepping outside the binary of gender, that immediately when you start looking at gender and how it's a large spectrum, that people become aggressive and they feel like that they can violently lash out at someone purely for the fact that they're trying to be their most authentic self.
There should be a change in attitude in general, not just in college, of people, of just getting to know someone and respecting them for who they are and not what they are.
Before you decide who I am, remember pride. That's my parade. Built from the fair wings of boys who bulldoze your barricades the day you claimed AIDS was a gift of God. Our wheels started spinning like Christ, turning over in his grave. For every holy knuckle broken down trans kid who's taken a knife blade to the gut. Every bloodhound that ever sucked on her pronoun like it was a self-given name was not a stained glass cathedral. Their tired boots could only pray to find soul enough to touch. Now ask me what I am. I'll tell you all of the above and none of what they've ever listed. I will say I've never cared to be nearly as much as I've cared to become. We are all instruments, pulling the bows across our own lungs, windmills, still startling in every storm. Have you ever seen a newborn blinking at the light? I want to do that every day. I want to know what the kite called itself when it got away, when it escaped into the night.